Okay. One last intro video here on completing the square. So we've talked about the two previous videos talked about why do we complete the square. Okay, remember that we're completing the square. Excuse me. We're completing the square so that we end up with this standard form or vertex form of a quadratic. And then you've got two different types of setups here. You've got the type where it's set up as a function, and you've got the type where it's set up as an equation. The process for completing the square changes just slightly when it comes to this, when it comes to solving. Okay. Now, this idea of isolating the x terms like we did here and taking the middle and taking half and squaring it and adding that number in here, that is still the same. Okay, it's what we do with that afterwards that's a little different. Okay, so when we were doing this problem, we isolated these x terms, but we left this -7, okay, over here with the rest of this expression, which is what we have to do. There's nowhere to put it, right? I wouldn't move it anywhere else. But when you're solving, we have a different option of what to do with that 7. So right off the bat, when we're solving, we can isolate these x terms by adding this 7 to the other side. Okay, so if we do this right off the bat, now we've got our x terms over here. I'm going to leave, I'm going to leave this space, okay, here. I'm not going to fill that space yet, and that's equal to 17. Now, I'm still going to factor the 3 away from the x terms. So I've got the 3 on the outside here, right? If you recall, I left this space over here when I was doing this problem, and that got filled with this. That is still going to happen, okay? I'll use the same color here just to prove my point. Okay, we're still taking this number 2. We're still taking half of it, and we're squaring that number. Half of 2 is 1, right? 2 over 2 is 1. 1 squared is 1. I'm still going to write a +1 here. Now, here's where things get a little different. Okay, so I added this 1. If you recall, when we were talking about this problem over here, okay, I added this 1, but it was really being multiplied times this 3. That's still happening. The 3 here is still being multiplied times this. Now, when I was talking about it being a function, and I said, well, if I add 1, I can't really change the way this expression looks. I have to undo that on the outside. So even though I had a +1 here, I was doing a -3 because 3 times 1 is +3. And then I do the exact opposite on the outside. Now, when it comes to solving an equation, the difference is we can maintain the balance of this equation by doing the exact same thing on both sides of the equation. So I added a 1 here, which is really being multiplied by 3. So I'm still adding 3 on this side of the equation. So what I can do to balance that is I can add 3 on this side of the equation. So before, here in this problem, it was I have to undo it because I'm not keeping the balance of this. I'm just trying to rewrite this. Now over here, because it's an equation, whatever we do to one side, we can do to the other. So the rest of this problem, okay, is going to, from this point forward, okay, everything's going to look the same as it did over here. I'm still going to, oh no. I'm okay. I'm okay, guys. No, I didn't just go crazy. I don't know how that. Hold on. There we go. I don't know how that happened. My bad. I'll figure that out. That keeps happening to me. I'm still going to factor this into these two binomials, just like I did here, right? I'm still going to call this x plus 1, and this is x plus 1. This is equal to 20. I end up with x plus 1 quantity squared equals 20 over here, okay? So if I'm solving this equation, you're like, how come this is 20 and this is 10? It's really two different problems that started with the same quadratic. Okay, there's another video later on in this playlist that talks about how to solve from this point forward. Okay, and I'll address that a little bit more in that video. I just wanted to show you in this case the difference between, when you have a quadratic set up as a function and when you have a quadratic set up as an equation. You can complete the square in both of these problems. When it's set up as a function, whatever you do in here, you do the opposite on the outside. When it's set up as an equation, whatever you do here, you can do the exact same thing on the exact same operation on the other side of the equation. Okay.